Welcome in, all you clinchers and losers. This is the final regular season episode of the Almost 13 Colonies podcast. I'm your host, commissioner, and new member of the Playoff Club, Colin, who recently beat Pat. So rest in peace, Pat. Here's cheers. I'm pouring one out for you for last week as you watch your
thank you.
Wendell. So that was a special intro this week. Pat, how are you feeling?
Oh boy, how are we feeling? I'll tell you what I'm not feeling, and that is good. I am not feeling good. That was a very, very tough, close loss. A lot
What
of
to say about close?
It was pretty close, yeah. You. The only reason you won is because they got a field goal. But I digress. So good job, Commish, on locking it in with the playoffs. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I guaranteed a playoff spot, and I am now almost emotionally accepting that I'm not making it in the playoffs, but I'm not going to say that yet.
You can't go through a state of grief yet.
I can't go through the grief. You beat me so bad that I'm contemplating grief. That's how bad that loss hurt.
Oh, well, and it hurts so bad because you had to stare at it with what was it, 0.8 that you were down by?
Yes.
For an entire day.
Yes.
Just to wait and see if my kicker would miss and the Bucks lose to see if you win.
Yes.
That's what it would have come down to, is my kicker either missed a kick and didn't recover, well, that's a -1, or if they lost. So those are the only two scenarios where you would have won.
Yes. I was very much hoping for the loss.
That might be the flimsiest of flimsy hopes, my friend. So
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anywho, yeah, it was an exciting week in the league. Obviously, the playoff picture got a little bit clearer, and we eliminated some more folks. We'll get to that in just a second, but let's recap the action. So as we just talked about, Prestige Worldwide topped Pat this week in a very close game. Patrick's mustache got a much-needed win over Zach to maintain his one-game lead over Patrick. Apollo Creed got another win, also solidifying his chance at a first-round bye, which we all know is very important. But also Steve Hefner sticking right there with him, getting a win over the King. Who did Creighton beat, by the way?
Wasn't it John?
If you know who he beat, I don't even know this kid. This is just a random team. It might be the Twitter bots. We don't know. Anyways, Clay beat Corn Kid also again. That's all but clinched the #1 seed for him. Clay's getting a bye. Congratulations to you, man. And the last matchup of the week, Hertz Donut versus Brecken. This was the game of the week. This was the most exciting matchup. This was playoff football, and Lamar Jackson got hurt. And I don't know about you guys, as much as I don't want to run into Brecken's team in the playoffs, you hate to see a game with that much riding on it and with an injury. I mean, it's still, Pierce had a great week, put up a lot of points, but you hate to just have one of your key players go down like that just for the competitive nature of the game.
I have said it before, and I have said it again, and I will say it more. Luck matters in fantasy football. You can have strategy, and Brecken's team on paper is the definition of strategy, but luck trumps strategy. Brecken should probably be the only one out of the playoff scenario that should have made it into the playoffs and didn't because his quarterback went down. So it's, I don't know, sucks. Sucks for him. Does not suck for me.
3 players
sucks for him.
So, Andy, you also saw your playoff hopes washed away this week. Let's check in. How you feeling? How are you coping?
I had 3 players go down with injuries in the first half. So, it's a tough week when 3 of your starters are, hurt that week. I've lived with it. I've got my dog for emotional support.
I like it. I would slap a service animal vest and take her with you wherever you go, at least for the next 2 weeks, so we know that you're okay.
As long as I can carry the Scrophie in the other hand, I guess we'll be good.
You can maybe set it above her kennel or something.
There we go. She might eat it.
That would be kind of nasty.
No, I mean, I think it's just one of those. I had to win to stay alive, and even then, I probably wasn't going to make it. Like, there's some weird scenario where I could, but
like, well, you got Josh Jacobs.
What?
You got Josh Jacobs, and you're not the first person to get Josh Jacobs. Ask Brecken, who also got Josh Jacobs. So, let's jump into the playoffs here, and I want to expand on a thought here in a second. So we have to pour one out. We have to pour two out this week. We've already poured one out for Zach. We already poured one out for John. But we have to pour one out for you, my friend, Andy, the Corn Kid. That is one of the most epic team names to ever exist, and I hope it stays with us forever. Pouring one out for Andy. All right, next one we got to pour one out for is surprising. Again, it was Brecken. With everything on the line, it just didn't come together for him. Derrick Henry didn't even have a good day. And I wanted to point out, this was bring up a second ago. If I'm not mistaken, I'll double check this because I don't want to be factually incorrect on the air here.
God forbid we've ever been incorrect on the podcast.
We fact check everything.
Everything, all the time.
Everything.
We are definitely so prepared for these and do not bring it all together 20 minutes before the start of the episode.
We fact checked more than Twitter and Facebook combined.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was what I was looking at. Yeah, I'm correct. So I don't think this has ever been done before, by the way. In the same division, Zeke and Destroy is 5-0. He has not lost a single divisional game.
Correct.
Which is incredible because he might just well go 6-0 here this week. Very well could.
Yes.
We'll see if he can Josh Jacobs Pierce's team.
Some of us are really hoping that he Josh Jacobs his opponent this week.
So Scott's Tots Brecken is 0-5 against his division. The Reed brother has not beat a single player in his division.
That's nuts.
Soak that in for a second.
That is a stat.
He has not won a single game. It's going to come down to this week. Andy, are you up to the task of stopping Reed brother number 2 or number 1, whoever you are? Are you up for the task of stopping him this week?
I mean, confidently, I want to say yes. But realistically, like, I've got a couple guys on buys, and with all the injuries from last week, I'm hoping I can even put together a solid lineup at this point. So I'm not. If I'm being realistic, I'm not going to sit here and say I for sure knocked him out of being 0-6. You know, because I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna have a legal lineup yet. We'll see what happens with injuries.
So I mean, this is some real David versus Goliath stuff because Scott's Tots is the 4th highest scorer in our league. Andy, I don't know if you've checked this lately, but you're in last, my friend. You have scored almost exactly 400 points less than Brecken this year. 400.
It doesn't matter, though. We have the same amount of wins. Just saying. It all comes down to luck.
Yes, it does, Andy. Thank you for saying that.
You know?
So true.
And I also have beat him once with that, too.
You did beat him.
Even though he outscores everybody else, he hasn't outscored me.
We'll see if that continues.
Cornhead's got the juice.
Cornhead had the juice. We'll see if he has the juice again. So here's my point one out for Brecken. Better luck next year. Okay, quick question. Do you guys enjoy making fun or rooting against Brecken as much as you enjoy rooting against making fun of Creighton? Pat, I know you're a big proponent of egging on Creighton.
Absolutely, I am. Absolutely.
So you think it's as fun to throw shade at Brecken as it is Creighton?
I throw shade at. How do I want to word this? I throw shade at Brecken only because he is by nature. If you throw shade at Brecken, you throw shade at Creighton. That's just facts. Anything that goes to a Reed brother automatically afflicts the other Reed brother. It's like the transitive property of Reeds.
Oh my gosh!
So I hold a little more respect to Brecken than I do Creighton. But But at the end of the day, any jab at a read is a jab at a read, and that to me is like Beethoven's symphony. You know what I mean? Like it's classical, it's sweet, it's I'll open the floor to everybody else's thoughts, but that's obviously mine.
I'm just curious. I was just curious. I thought you were the perfect guy to ask that question there, Pat. So, yeah, this is why fantasy football is fun.
This is why fantasy football is fun.
Because we love Brecken, but we also love to throw shade at Brecken and Creighton.
See, I must say, I'm not gonna because here's why. I have hopes of someday being the groundskeeper for their football team wherever they end up. So I don't want to like piss them off and piss that opportunity away. So
that's true.
You know, I'm Brecken's biggest fan. I'm Creighton's biggest fan, just for job security purposes.
Wow. In terms of Odessa high school football, I am always their number one fan, and I will say that I said at the beginning of the season. I'll say it now. If you all need an IT guy to figure out how to get sound into your high school football game streams, sign me up. I'll be your guy. I can do it.
Can you remotely announce their games?
Yeah.
I could honestly probably do a Twitch stream broadcast of their games and just be the game commentator.
Just learn the jersey numbers and just rock with it.
Also, side note, I think it'd be really funny if we did a live stream of their first game for the next season.
Oh, that was in the works this year. We just didn't get it done.
Yeah, I know we couldn't get it accomplished, but like I think we should really actually do it because I think it'd be very funny.
Yep, some random game next year. We're gonna have like the Brady Bunch. Everybody's gonna be lined up on the live stream. We're gonna record this, and they can go back and watch it after the game.
We could do it for the Permian game because they hate Permian.
This is gonna be like Peyton and Eli, except for our dumbasses.
It's gonna be so great.
It'd be awesome. Okay, so back to biz. Cheers to this. Sounds really, really facetious, but cheers to myself because I officially joined the playoffs. I don't know what the hell took this long. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. So I really thought that something bad would happen. I have Steve Hefner to thank for this because he reverse jinxed my team. If you would have picked me to win against you, Pat, you know I would have lost.
But I reverse jinxed myself, and that's why you won. Because if I was just gonna do what I should have done from the start, and I've done all season long, and actually start Young Ho Koo, this would not be we would not be having this conversation. I jinxed myself. I overthought it. I jinxed myself and put in Brett Mayer, and that was ultimately my downfall. I did not believe that Young Ho Koo could take my team to the promised land.
Can we just kick Pat out of this? He doesn't even know how to pronounce his name.
You know, I love Pat's wacky name pronunciations.
Also, not pronounce Young Ho Koo? I've watched like 4 games.
Brett Maher.
That's the
one? Maher. Okay.
Maher.
The one name I wasn't thinking of and haven't watched all season. Yeah.
It's okay, folks. He's a big John Mayer guy.
Also, if only the Browns would run the football more. You know?
If only now that we're officially recording this, everyone in the Browns organization deserves to either be fired or arrested because that was some bullshit that you did to Nick Chubb this weekend. Hashtag justice for Chubb.
You're just a dumbass for starting anybody against the Texans. Besides an opposing
they're the
defense.
worst rush defense in the league.
Yeah, to third string running back.
How do you not start Nick Chubb?
Because you know the backup. Like, I'm tempted to pick up who's the Cowboys' third string running back. I am so tempted to pick him up and play him this week because you know the Cowboys are going to be. They play the Texans. They're going to be up at least 35-0 after the first 8 minutes of the game. And it's going to be, is it Malik something? It's going to be all my man Malik the rest of the game.
Malik
Andy, if you want to beat Brecken, here's my advice. Pick up Malik now and play his ass.
Is he available?
Yeah, dude. Everybody's got a roster of third string running back.
Well, with the Reed brothers being Cowboy fans, you never know.
We shall see. I'm really hoping that we have a huge, giant waivers bidding war over the Cowboys' third string running back. It'd be really funny. So, anyways, we're going to cheers. We're going to do a half cheers to this next guy. And by next guy,
Pierce.
That's his name. I don't actually know who this next guy is, but some guy clinched a playoff spot, basically. Somehow it's 99% playoff clinching. Andy, what the heck's the deal with this? You are expert on playoff standings.
Okay, two things I want to start with. First off, congrats for Pierce with making the playoffs with his second team. I don't care what you guys say. I still, conspiracy theory-wise, think that Pierce is actually running the team. So congrats. I mean, out of two teams, I'm glad at least one was able to make it in.
I think he owes us a shooty for that in celebration.
And then the only thing we can come up with is essentially if certain ties happen, it comes down to points for, and somebody would have to outscore him by like over 200 and some points. So, maybe, I don't know, maybe it happens. Maybe we have a record set. I think our record we were talking was maybe 200 a week.
Yeah, we've hit 200 maybe once or twice.
But, I mean, pretty much at this point, unless the world's ending, I don't think we're going to see Alex, a.k.a. really Pierce, not make the playoffs, I should say. So
yeah, Pierce would have to bench his entire second team's roster, and like Pat or Mitch would have to score 200 points more than him.
Yeah,
so pretty impressive. So I'm gonna half cheers that guy.
Maybe as punishment, we should have his whole team bench, since he never responds anyways. He probably wouldn't know until it's too late.
We should. Pierce needs to check that burner phone more often. Matchups that don't matter this week. So we're gonna go over matchups later. But Andy versus Brecken, you guys are playing a very meaningless game.
You know what? I'm gonna stop you there.
It's for pride.
It matters. It matters for the losers bracket.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what? You never say it doesn't matter. It just doesn't have playoff implications.
That's very true. So no playoff implications. Excuse me. The next one is the King versus Apollo Creed. This one, again, no playoff implications other than if Apollo Creed loses and Steve Hefner wins, then the Mansion gets the second seed behind Clay. So that one actually could be relatively important. First round bye is very important. Making Creighton go through a gauntlet would be monumental.
Hold on. Pause for a second. So Steve is for sure the number one seed, right?
False.
Like he's false.
Actually, yeah. No, if Steve loses and Creighton wins, Creighton is the number one seed.
Okay, so he's still okay. Okay.
Unless Clay loses. If Clay loses and both Steve and Creighton win,
Steve would be number one seed.
Would he be?
I think he would, because I think he has more points.
So Zeke can destroy Steve Hefner. Yeah, who does have more points? Is Steve? No.
So for points, yeah. So for points, for Apollo Creed has more than Steve Hefner. So, and in terms of record, so they're both 9-4. So basically, if Clay loses and both Steve and Apollo Creed win, then Apollo Creed is the number one seed.
Correct. And Steve would be, well, no, then Zeke can destroy. Clay would be the 2 seed.
Yes.
So for Steve to get number one seed, Clay has to lose, or to get a bye at least, excuse me. Actually, all he needs for a bye is for Creighton to lose and him to win. So, but that's a tough ask this week.
Yeah.
So, yeah. See how that goes. Other scenarios. We have officially 4 teams vying for 1 playoff spot.
3 teams.
Actually, yeah, it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3 teams. Excuse me. Patrick's Mustache, as good as Rutgers, and Hurts Donut. So we have Patrick's Mustache in the lead at 7-6. We have as good as Rutgers at 6-7, and Hurts Donut at 6-7. So ESPN stats and projections has Mitch with the edge to clinch here, because all Mitch would need to do is he has to win this week, and I say all he needs to do, sarcastically, is win this week and have Pat and Pierce lose. That's scenario 1. Scenario 2, Mitch wins and Pat wins. Or no, yeah, Mitch loses and Pat wins, but Pat does not score enough points to get ahead of Mitch. Same thing with Hurtstonen. If Pierce loses, or if Pierce wins, Mitch loses, and Pierce does not score enough points to jump him, then he's also in for that scenario as well.
Pierce has more points than Mitch.
Or Pierce does have more points. Okay. So if Pierce wins and he loses, why is he still in?
If Pierce wins and Mitch loses, Pierce is most likely in the playoffs.
Yes.
For both Pierce and I, Mitch needs to lose.
Yep. Unless I beat, because if
Mitch loses and Pierce and I win, if Pierce scores more points than I do, he's in. If I score 25 more points than Pierce, I am in.
Correct. So that's really the important scenarios to keep an eye on this week.
Basically, Sunday is going to be freaking wild.
Sunday's gonna be crazy, very crazy. As are the waivers this week for Mitch.
Yeah.
Because when I said sarcastically, Mitch has to somehow actually assemble a team to put on the field this week. He has a very stiff bye week here coming up, so he'll be surfing those waiver wires, like you guys will too. So, anyways, I think that really sums up the playoffs. If Mitch wins, he's in. You, Pat, and Pierce, you both need a little bit of help there with a Mitch loss, and then it depends on point differential there. So,
pretty much, just score a bunch of points, you three, to have a shot at making the playoffs.
Correct.
Because even if you win, but you only score 100 points, but Mitch, loses and scores 200 points, he'd still get in over you. So, score points, set your lineups to score. That's all. That's the only advice I have.
High upside players in the lineups this week, like boom or bust types, is what we're looking for. So
preferably the booms on my side and everyone else gets a bust.
Yes,
that's the goal.
Otherwise, you lied to us when you said you're going to make the playoffs.
So before we go any further, I do want to bring this up because I am a man of my word. And very, very beginning of this podcast, of this season, I did declare that I would be a lock for the playoffs. I think even before draft day, I said I was a lock. So I do want to. I accept full punishment, and I believe that punishment was a dare bet. And for those people who don't know what a dare bet is, essentially what a dare bet is if I lose the bet, I do what anyone tells me to do, specifically the person who won the bet. So in this case, if I do not make the playoffs, Gizmo and Pierce will have a dare bet on me that I will have to fulfill. And I am a man of my word. I am a man of my word. I cannot promise it's going to be done right at the end because, as a lot of you know, for following the podcast, I am having a baby, and that's going to have to take Triumph for a couple months. But I will have this punishment done before the next season, and we will have it recorded, and we will put it on the podcast for next season.
I love it. That's going to boost some viewership there, Pat.
I really hope it does.
Good plug. So let's move on, Pat. Since you're in the spotlight here, let's do your mystery teams.
Yes. So blind resume segment. It's a new segment we have for the second half of the season. This is going to be an interesting one because this is a blind resume right at the end of the regular season. So we're going to kick it off here. Team number 1. This team has the number 6 quarterback. This team has 6 total players in the top 15 per PPR rankings, mind you. Jeez. And this team did not spend more than $60 on a player in the draft.
At all?
On a single player, this person did not drop more than $60.
But they have 6 top 15 guys?
6 top 15 players.
Dang. At their position or total?
At their position.
Their position. So my immediate thought was Creighton, but he doesn't have a quarterback.
And Tom Brady not
good.
He's definitely not the sixth quarterback.
Yeah, definitely not sixth.
Unless he traded which I don't think he ever. I think he traded away Russell Wilson, who is not number 6.
Yep.
Also, speaking of which, Creighton has Tom Brady. Tom Brady. This is not Creighton's team, but I thought it was really interesting doing the blind resume that Tom Brady is ranked number 18th.
Yeah,
at his position, which is something I never thought I would ever see. Yeah, and hopefully that will guide him to go back to retirement and stay retired. But anyways, yeah, not the number 6 quarterback.
So then my other thought was, okay, he drafted McCaffrey, so that clearly had to be pushing past $70 there.
I know what my guess is.
I think I have a guess too.
Okay, we'll start with Andy.
Go ahead, my man.
Honestly, my thought was my team, because with Kyler Murray, I don't know what he ranks, but he'd be somewhere in that 6 to 8 range. And my team's ass, so I didn't spend a lot on a top player from what I remember. So it really wouldn't surprise me if it's me, because, of course, I probably don't have 6 in the top 15, though, either. Never mind. I don't know.
My guess is Clay. I think he picked up Justin Fields, and I think Justin Fields has propelled himself to the top 6. But most of his team is very undervalued guys. Like, he's getting insane value for what he spent the draft this year.
You're right.
Like $4 from Ramondre Stevenson. I think he spent like 20 something on Zeke. And I think Josh Jacobs was a bottom of the barrel, scrape him up kind of a buy as well.
That's a good guess.
So I'm thinking Mark Andrews is obviously he's top 5 tight end despite missing some time. So I'm thinking Clay.
That's a good guess.
Andy, are you staying with you, or are you going with someone else?
I mean, I'm trying to think. It's definitely not me that I think about it.
There's room on the wagon, my man.
I mean, I'm trying to think, okay, who all does John have? Because Herbert, I could see being in the top 10 range. He has Keenan Allen. I don't know who his running back is, to be honest. I wish I had rosters. Well, I guess that would be cheating, because then you for sure know. I'm like trying to think who else. It's probably Clay now that Colin says that, because I can't think of who else John would have to you, and it's probably got to be Clay. I don't know.
Pat, did we nail
it? So is Clay your final answer?
Clay's my
final. Yes.
Okay. So before I name the team, based on the resume I've given, where do you think this team should be ranked?
Top 15s across the board gives you a top 3 team for sure.
I'd say a playoff team, but not for sure, because, I mean, it depends. If they're all right at the edge of the top 15, maybe they don't have that player that puts them over the top being in a top 3 position. But I definitely say playoff, but I don't know for sure if you would say they for sure are a top 3 team.
The correct answer is the King.
What? He has top 15.
Herbert,
he has 6 players in the top 15 for their position per PPR rankings.
Man, that's mind blowing.
And he spent $59 on one player.
That was the highest.
That was the highest he went in the draft.
Who was that?
That was
Fournette.
If I could click on the right link. That was Leonard Fournette.
Yeah. Dang.
I have a question with those rankings, real quick.
Yeah.
Like with our league with the 0.25 per rush, does that get accounted for that, or is that completely separate since it's like a special rule in our league and most leagues don't have that?
It's a special rule in our league, so it's not included.
Okay.
If it was included, that would change things.
That's why I was also just thinking on that, because I'm like, well, if he has some running backs that get a lot of volume, maybe they're not the greatest in terms of yards, but they just get the volume.
Right. Okay. The second team. This team has a position that is number 1 per PPR. 6 total players in this top 7 for PPR. Has allowed the 5th most points all season. And only has 5 players remaining from draft day.
That's a lot of player turnover.
It's a lot of player turnover. Not the most player turnover, but a lot.
Do you have that calculated, the most player turnover?
Yes.
Interesting.
Probably Creighton.
I don't want to say it because it possibly could reveal who this person is.
You're a mastermind.
But, yeah.
I have my guess, but Andy, I'll let you work through this one.
I don't even know who. Let's see. I mean, I'm going to take a stab in the dark and guess Mitch, but I'm not very confident at all. There's some weird stats there. I feel like this one's a little bit more tricky because it's like, who knows who's the 5th most points scored against? Like, who cares? And the number 1 player, I mean, it could be a kicker for all we know.
Is it position player, Pat? Can you give us that hint? Not a kicker or defense.
It is not a kicker.
Okay.
So it could be a defense. That makes me think Cowboys. I don't even know who has a Cowboy. Either way, I'll just stick with Mitch because I don't know.
My guess was Creighton.
Okay, so
Creighton
before
away his entire team.
So before I give the answer, where do you think this team should be ranked?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll turn over that indicates some fantasy football prowess and strategy. So I'm going to say they're probably a pretty good player. We're going to go top 4. We're going to say they're a playoff lock this year already.
I mean, since they've had the 5th most points scored against them, in my head, I want to say that potentially they've had some bad luck with matchups. And then, just because they have the number 1 defense, I don't know what the Cowboys or whoever the number 1 defense is has scored for this year. I would honestly say they might be just outside of the playoffs, just because depending on matchups with, because we've talked about it before in the league, but you can't control what your opponent does. Like, I mean, there are certain strategies you can have with pickups, but I think it could just come down to they have bad luck and potentially wouldn't make the playoffs.
Very true.
This team is a little bitch, and it's Creighton.
Does he have the Cowboys defense?
He does have the Cowboys defense.
Are they the number 1?
They are the number 1 defense.
That's what I wondered, but I already had said my answer, and I didn't want to.
They are the steroid in the arm of the already jacked gym goer. That is what the Cowboys defense are. They take Creighton from elite to unbeatable come playoff time. In my opinion. Pat, I know you disagree, but we got to get moving on to picks here.
I agree.
Andy, you ready to pick some winners this week? You ready to send some folks home to the Scrophy competition, send some folks to the promised land in the playoffs?
No.
No? Oh, man. The only thing that I had challenge with this week was picking a game of the week.
There's a lot of game of the week potential.
There's like 3 game of the week potentials here. However, there's only 1 game of the week that has a dare bet riding on it. It's got to be Pat. Pat versus Zach. Zach, you could force Pat to do a dare bet, including a peanut butter cone, whatever you choose. It's going to be fantastic. So let's start with all the other matchups, and we'll end with that one. Okay, Andy, are you ready?
Yep, I'm pulling up the matchups.
Okay, so first matchup is Prestige Worldwide versus Patrick's mustache. Not Patrick, his mustache.
The good mustache.
This one, we've talked about it already. This one's a little bit easier for me because Patrick's mustache is about to get shaven. It sounds like just because all of his players on bye, like, he's just got nothing. He's not going to cut it.
Pat, when you shave your mustache, Patrick's mustache goes down. Just to spite Mitch.
Honestly, that'd be really funny. That would be really funny.
I just want to see some mustache hairs falling in the sink. Just so sad.
But no, I think with all of the buys that he has, and I mean, just looking at some of the matchups that your team has, I think you have the chance to blow him out. I really don't think it's going to be that close. I probably just jinxed it, but whatever.
We shall see. Next matchup is the King versus Apollo Creed.
Okay.
Are you going to give John some hope, man?
I mean, honestly, he's got some decent matchups.
And here's a wild thought. If John loses this game, does he get the Scrofy?
No, you have to get last in the loser's ladder.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's not regular season. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I like some of the matchups he has, and you guys know me. I always like the stack. That's why I traded for DeAndre Hopkins with my Murray, And he's got Herbert and Allen, I think, is finally healthy to my knowledge. Yep. I think I'm going to pick John to pull off the upset on Creighton.
Oh, and John was an upset. That's what we call a moneymaker in Vegas.
I love it. I love it.
That's what we call a bold take.
That's a hot take.
That's a hot take right there. If I know one.
I love it. Next matchup is AFC West or East, North, South. We have no clue what direction this is going versus Steve Hefner in the mansion.
I mean, I love Steve, but after last week and the way he turned on my team, I got to go with AFC West. I think, looking at buys, Steve's team's another one that has quite a few buys. You got Patrick Mahomes versus Allen. Obviously, that's going to be a fun, exciting kind of quarterback battle. But otherwise, I think with all the buys that Steve has and everything, I think it's just going to be too much. The AFC West is going to pull it out.
Okay. I agree. But P.S., what do you guys think of Steve's rebranding and his newfound swag?
I love it. He is the Kirk Cousins of this league. I love it.
Dude, I think so too, man. The whole team remodel, rebrand that he's done, logo and all, is just, it's next.
California Steve is the best Steve.
California Steve Hefner is basically like Crocs somehow becoming cool nowadays. Have you guys noticed that trend?
I have noticed that trend.
The stupidest crap ever. They still are. But somehow they've rebranded themselves so these young kids, sporty, athletic, cool kids, wear Crocs everywhere.
The only time you wear Crocs is if you're going fishing.
Yeah.
It's not
even. So you can lose them in the lake, kick them in the lake. Don't even wear them back from the lake.
Exactly.
You don't want to be spotted in them. That's the kind of rebrand that Steve has done from his past success and past failures in this league. He's here. He's in the playoffs. He's Steve Hefner. Watch out, ladies.
I'm just happy that I can be the only corn guy again because, that Kittle corn kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
But he beat me, so I couldn't talk shit on it either.
That's true.
So now I can, be the only corn guy. Also, since I'm on the guest one, I want to go on a rant about fashion. You know what I hate that's in fashion that people now think's cool again? Overalls. Bitch, I've been wearing them since I'm a little kid, and now it's like popular again. And sorry, I just have to go on that fashion rant.
Oh, the thing is cute. It's like the chick thing now, Andy.
I know, but no.
I sense the disgruntlement.
Andy, next season I need a segment where you just complain about something. I need it. I need it. Andy's corner. Call it. Write it down.
On the tractor all day long. Love it.
I'll send you videos to put in the podcast next year.
Yes, please do. Please do.
Tractor takes. I think that's pretty good. Or throttle it down. Let's go Scott's Tots versus Corn Kid. Yourself, do you have the juice this week?
I mean, everyone's going to hound me because you're supposed to pick yourself. But between having two players on buys and the injuries I have, I know he lost Lamar, but let's be honest, Lamar hasn't been amazing. I think with Justin Jefferson and Diggs, I don't even know who else is on his team. Those are like the two big receivers. I think it's going to be tough for me, but I mean, he is 0-5. You never know. Fantasy football. This one comes down to skill versus luck. We're going to find out if skill or luck wins because I beat him once. Maybe I can beat him again, but I don't know.
So are you taking skill or luck?
You know what? I got to take luck.
Yes, you do.
God loves fantasy football. Yes, you
do, Andy.
So I take it you're taking the Corn Kid over.
We're going to find a way. I don't know how, but we're going to find a way.
I like it. Next matchup is Zeke and Destroy Clay versus Hurts Donut Pierce in Pierce's what might be final stand here. You think Pierce has enough to win the war?
I mean, let's be honest. Was that 2 weeks ago I beat him? Clay's going to kick his butt. That one's not even close for me. I don't even have to look at matchups.
Okay. I like it. So, by your logic, Pierce has now been eliminated from the playoffs.
That way he can focus on cheering on the Chiefs since he's such a big fan of them now,
That's true. And you also, just to refresh, you picked me to beat Mitch. Okay?
Yep. Yes.
So, here is the ultimate game of the week question here, Andy. Are you taking Pat? And second question, are you taking Pat by enough to get in the playoffs?
I do think Pat wins, believe it or not. Just because Zach has a couple people on bye too, so his team's not going to be at full strength,
Do you think Pat wins by more than 26 points than Mitch? Do you think he scores more than 26 points than Mitch?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. I have a reasoning. You know how Pat is so upset with the Cleveland Browns? You know who they play this week?
They play the Bengals.
They play the Bengals. And he's got the Burrow Chase stack. And so my prediction's going to be, even though he's going to lose to you, with that stack, you both are going to score really high, and he's still going to get knocked out. Just because of karma has to come back for Pat wanting the Browns to all be arrested or whatever.
I want them all.
So Andy
all
is
in the penitentiary
for Mr. King.
But
Pat, we'll save you for last.
Okay.
I think. Well, here's the hard truth. Zach, his team's not terrible. I mean, a lot of them are coming on here late in the season, as you saw against me a couple weeks ago. Like I said, the problem is it's too little, too late for Zach. That being said, Zach also has the injury or the bye bug. Aaron Jones is gone. Colt Stee's gone. Antonio Gibson's gone. Aaron Rodgers is gone. He's basically going to be sticking as many players that are on the field in his lineup this week. So I think Pat has a more complete roster this week. I think only he's missing a couple guys who aren't as important. Pat, I think you take this one. Do I think you win by more than 23? Because I also think that I'll probably beat Mitch this week. Or I could rest a few guys. We'll see. Yeah, I'll take Pat. I'll take Pat to score 20 more points than Mitch. I'm gonna go with you to get it done, buddy. You prove those haters wrong.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go Pat wins and in. Pat, what are you predicting here?
What am I predicting here?
Better yet, what are you guaranteeing?
What am I guaranteeing? I don't know anything about guaranteeing. I will say though that this is where we stand right now. Currently, I have 1629. Patrick's mustache has 1603, which means in order for Mitch to lose but still be able to win off of points 4, he has to score 26 points, 27 for good measure. Right? He has to score 27 more than me to advance in the playoffs.
Let me take this back.
He's got. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Okay. To remind everybody, you guys have split 1-1, so there is no head-to-head advantage here.
There is no head-to-head advantage. It is literally points 4 if he loses in this final week.
Yep.
Let's look. I know they don't matter, but let's go ahead and just take a look at the projections for this week. Gizmo, with the bye week bug, is projected 109. I am projected 123. I'm already practically 20 points over Giz in just projected points. And I believe I'm going to score 123. I am officially coming out with I am beating Zach this week, and I will be moving on to the playoffs. That's my official take. That is what's going to happen. And if it does not happen, then Mitch has the dare bet on me.
Ooh. Kind of a checkmate.
It's a win-win situation.
If
we really want to boil it down, it's a win-win situation. If I win, I'm in the playoffs, and I get to give the big old middle finger to Creighton.
That's true.
And B, if I don't make it in, then I do a dare bet, and the ratings go up.
Exactly.
Really, like, what's the problem here, right? I got nothing to lose.
The viewers
I just hope if you make the playoffs, I hope you face Creighton somehow. Like, I'd be okay with calling and editing the playoff brackets so that way.
Well, I probably would face Creighton, right? Because if Steve gets the first round bye, then Creighton is probably the second seed, right? Which means if Creighton's the second seed, he's going to go up against the 6th seed, which is going to be me.
No, Creighton would play. Actually, as it stands right now, so the way our playoffs are seeded, the number 1, 2 teams get byes, and then the third division winner automatically gets the 3 seed.
Right. So I would play the 3rd seed.
Correct.
So if Clay, is there a way that Clay clinches the 2nd seed?
No. Clay's pretty much got the 1st seed locked up.
Unless he loses.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, if Steve and Creighton both win, Steve's going to get the 2 seed because of head-to-head. So, yeah.
So there's a very big possibility
you would face me
that Creighton. I wouldn't face you because you wouldn't be the 3rd seed.
You'd get the 3rd seed.
Yep. And I play a 6th seed.
Okay, so most likely if I win, I'm playing you in the next round.
Yep.
In the first round of the playoffs.
And you would not face Creighton until the championship.
Gotcha.
Yep. I'm looking at it right now.
Gotcha. Okay. So, yeah. So, really, it's going to just boil down to one incredible day of football.
Yep.
We've talked about it all over the podcast, but it is pretty much do or die time, and whatever happens is going to happen. And most likely, what's going to happen is me in the playoffs.
And then I can't wait for that episode of the podcast.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't wait for everyone to do the YouTube shorts and specifically the section of me guaranteeing the playoffs. That's what I can't wait for.
I'm excited for it, man. I'm so excited for it.
The shit talking is going to be unreal.
I can't wait for this weekend. Let's start the shit talking early. Let's get it going before Thursday Night Football and keep it rolling through Monday. because we got to savor this, boys. We only have 4 more weeks of this left. 1 month. I love you guys. We love doing this. Best of luck to everybody this week. Let's send it off for the big old cheers, boys.
Awesome. Cheers, fellas.
Cheers. Sometimes